Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Sometimes, no matter how solid you think you are, life hands you a lesson in the form of a cheating spouse and her masculine boss who apparently checks all the boxes you didn't even know you were missing. Today on rSpace, real strength, real masculinity is about loyalty, respect, and standing your ground when it counts. Wife slept with her boss because he's masculine, so I slept with her friends and showed who's the real boss. I don't really post on Reddit. I usually just lurk, read stories, and kill time. But this feels like something I can't carry on my own anymore. Maybe someone out there has been through this or has some perspective. I feel like my life just got yanked from under me. I'm 51, married to Maria, 48 female, for 24 years. Got two amazing kids, daughter 21 female, son 18 male. Both just graduated this year. Daughter's out of college, just started interning at a big bank, doing well. Son graduated high school and has moved into college. If you've had kids, you know what I mean when I say the last 21 years were a blur of school runs, arguments over screen time, late night emergency room trips, bills piling up, slammed doors, teenage mood swings, silent car rides after fights, then random hugs that made it all worth it. It wasn't easy raising two kids, managing a full-time job, and building a life without generational wealth. All of it was tough, emotionally, financially, and physically draining. We were holding up together with the hope that one day they would grow up and we would get our freedom back again. We both used to say, when the kids are grown, it'll be our time again. We had plans, maybe travel or start a small business together. Definitely more dinners, more wine, more sleeping in on the weekends. However, when the house finally went quiet and it was just the two of us again, something felt off. At first, I thought it was the void that the kids left. Empty nest syndrome, right? I thought maybe Maria felt the same, so I gave her the time. The house that used to be loud and messy was now silent. I missed the mess. The siblings fight, the loud music, even the eye rolls. I'd text my daughter about her job, FaceTimed my son about his weird roommates. I even signed up for a pottery class. Don't ask. Slowly, I started to feel a little like myself again. I started enjoying the calm, waiting for Maria to just adjust to our new life. But she didn't come back. She buried herself in work. Always got a meeting or just catching up on a few deadlines. She usually works late at least once a week, saying her role is demanding and she really has to put in extra effort to catch up with the new technology. She's always tired. This started after our daughter left 2 years ago and got more persistent after our son left. I thought maybe she was using work as an escape. I tried to talk, really tried. She said she missed the kids. Said it was hard on her to let go of the kids whom she had dedicated half her life to. It wasn't convincing after a few months. Her eyes didn't line up with her words and I started wondering, was it just about the kids? Fast forward to yesterday. She texted me she'd be working late. Nothing unusual. However, this was happening thrice within a week. I had a nagging feeling. I decided to drive over to her office, not to spy, just to see for myself and clear my head. I parked 2 buildings over and waited. She said she would have to put in 2 extra hours, and I got there an hour before her usual time. Sat there like an idiot, drinking lukewarm gas station coffee and trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. 20 minutes before her time, I see her boss coming out. I know that guy by face. He joined our company some 3 years back. Maria used to hate him because he was soft to other female coworkers in exchange for sexual favors. Classic corporate predator vibe. She would say I'd rather quit than work directly under that guy. However, after a few months, she stopped ranting about him, and when I asked, she said, "It was all a rumor. Some young interns had spread it to bring him down. He's just a strict boss who wants to get the work done. Just a little demanding." That shift bugged me, but it didn't press. Figured she was being mature, giving him a chance. 10 minutes later, Maria came out. At first I thought, okay, maybe she finished up early. I stayed low, didn't want to startle her. She sat in her car and drove off. I followed. Felt like a stalker. Yeah, I know. I had to know. 10 minutes of the drive was okay. I thought she was heading home. Then she took a steep left. Our house is straight. I thought, maybe she's grabbing food. 6 miles later, she pulled into a residential block and parked outside a house. Not a restaurant or a store, a gosh darn home. I stopped 100 meters away, pulled out my phone, zoomed in and recorded her. I don't know what I was thinking. It was my instinct. The recording is blurry though. It showed her walking right in without any hesitation. After the door closed, I drove past the house and found her boss's car in the driveway. I mindlessly headed straight for at least 10 minutes, like I couldn't breathe right. Felt so anxious and nauseated that I had to stop by a gas station to grab water. Sat on the curb like a ghost. Couldn't even cry. Felt so heavy. Then I drove back to his house to find her car still parked outside. After 2 hours, she comes out smiling and waving at him. She came back home and I drove past it to my regular bar. I sat by myself for hours. Needed to process it. She texted me at 8 asking where I was. I ignored it and stayed until 10. When I came home, she was asleep in the bedroom. The food was still on the table. I left as it is and went upstairs and crashed in my son's empty room. When I woke up today morning, she had gone to work. She didn't make breakfast. She's showing her cute anger because I came late last night. I'm in distress. I don't know how to deal. Do I confront her and demand answers? I've been loyal for 24 years. Changed diapers, cooked dinners, stayed up during every fever, drove through snowstorms for soccer games. Part of me wants to ghost her, pack a bag and leave a note saying I know. Let her live with the silence. Part of me wants to explode and burn it all down. But then there's the kids. Do I shatter their family? Do I risk turning holidays into landmines? I don't know. However, I do know one thing. The marriage is over. If you've made it this far, thanks. That nagging feeling you had about Maria's late nights and the sudden change in her attitude was probably your subconscious screaming at you to pay attention. When someone you've been with for over 2 decades suddenly starts acting distant, hiding things, and making excuses that don't add up, it's rarely just work. Update 1. That evening, she came back again late. I didn't bother to follow her this time. I've seen it once and that's enough. I also had this evidence, just in case. I remained at home, watching the game. She came and started giving a work excuse. I replied, "Don't bother. I know you're at your boss's." My calmness shook her. She sat on the couch, expecting a confrontation. I didn't look at her and continued watching the game. After a dead silence, she started stammering. I went to get some important papers. I swore I left within 10 minutes and went back to work. I swore I was late due to work. I looked at her and said, "Oh, was it the papers? I thought you went to pick up your underwear you left yesterday." Silence. She didn't say a word. I continued watching the TV. Then she said, "Please turn it off. Let's sort this out." I switched it off, turned towards her, and gave an icy cold stare. Next, what followed was a ton loads of confessions, tears, and breakdowns. I sat through it, seeing my marriage crumbling to pieces, thinking, where the hell did I go wrong? She'd been cheating on me for over a year. She said, "He was eyeing me since I never buttered him up. Then he softened up and helped me with my projects. I couldn't help but fall for the masculinity. The way he commanded respect and got the work done." This was her exact words, and it still haunts me. "Honestly, I always found this quality missing in you. Never felt it was such a big deal until I started following him. His masculinity made me crazy, made me feel delicate and feminine and giving. The vibe, you know? You don't reflect that masculine, demanding aura." Those were her fancy fluff BS excuses for sleeping with the boss. She rambled on a lot of stuff. By then, I had zoned out to reflect upon the past incidents to see if there were any hints. There were a couple of instances when she came home from work and demanded sex. First day, I complied, even felt excited, but while in the act, she didn't seem interested. Felt as if she was doing a chore. About a month before I found out her cheating, we were fighting over something. I tried to talk it out and resolve, but she wasn't in the mood to let it go. Then she came back from work, put her back on the couch, and in a demanding tone said, "Come inside. I want you to satisfy me." I flipped. "Service yourself. I'm not your sex slave." Honestly, that was the alarm that triggered me to think that my wife of 24 years could be a cheater. She confessed he gave her the task to get intimate with me and then update him in detail on how it went. There was some kind of kink to them. She was more excited to share the details with him than to have it with me. Hearing this made me throw up. I couldn't believe she was the mother of my children. She admitted that she found me boring and less ambitious. She looked at me as someone who barely did anything in life. Raising 2 kids, paying for their college, and paying off the house was bare minimum for her. Even if it was, I still take pride in my hard work. I didn't smuggle or do any fraud. I worked my butt off in a legal way to build this life. She finds her boss to be fascinating. He earned more than I, had a fancier degree and a house in a better neighborhood, while almost a decade younger than me. It made her go to her knees, quite literally. I sat there unmoved, listening to dirty secrets. Towards the end, she said she was ready to work out things and go to therapy with me. I said I don't know if I want that. She seemed to understand and said she would give me the time and space to process it. I moved to my son's empty room, spoke to my lawyer, and started the divorce proceedings. Meanwhile, watched for a place and fished out more details about her boss and his family. Found his wife on Instagram, but her account was private. Sent her a text that my wife was sleeping with her husband and I wanted to discuss the details. She immediately texted back her number and asked me to call her. Apparently, she knew about her husband's infidelity and was living separately and was on the verge of serving him. She requested the evidence to solidify her case. I sent it to her. Before she served, there are a couple of more things on my list. Break this news to my children and move out of this house as soon as I can. Update 2. Thanks for all the supportive comments and DMs. I'll let the negative ones slide. So, I finally served my soon-to-be ex-wife. But before that, a lot happened. First, I moved out to my new place. It's a small rented apartment in the suburbs. It was then she realized our marriage was over. Until then, she thought I was just cooling off. Said, "Do you really want to end our 24 years of marriage over this?" I replied, "You should have asked this to yourself before pulling down your skirt for your boss." Then I invited both my kids over before moving out. Maria requested she wanted to have the last dinner together as a family before we told them the truth. I agreed. Not for her, but for the kids. Wanted them to experience this one last time. They sensed the tension as soon as they entered. We asked them to wait till we eat. Distracted them by asking about their life. Son about his college and daughter about her work. She had a lot to rant about her coworkers. Finally, while having the dessert, we broke the news. They were obviously shattered because they didn't expect this from us. Asked us for the reason. I looked at Maria and she said, "Compatibility issues." My daughter asked if I had cheated on her mother, and she said, "No one cheated on anyone. We just have different priorities now. We held it together for all these years for you guys. Now that you both are independent, building your lives, we want to live it for ourselves again." Honestly, I was flabbergasted by her confidence and conviction. It was so easy for her to convince the children, or rather fool them. I realized one thing. I'll have to control the narrative because this woman can spin the story around me anytime. So when it was time to inform our parents, I took charge. I told the truth to both her parents and mine. She lost it that I slipped the real reason. She said, "Why couldn't you tell them the same thing I told the children?" I snapped, "Because they're not children and they can handle the truth." She said she wanted to protect her parents from hurt, but in actual, she wanted to protect her image. Who knows? She would have flipped it on me that I was the reason for the separation. To her credit, she didn't deny it when her parents asked her. They both reached out to me and apologized. Her father even visited me at work and said I would always be his son, no matter what. It did mean a lot. Things were getting back on track. Then almost a month later, I got a text from Maria's coworker on Instagram. I thought it was just a courtesy text, but then she got flirty. It made me uncomfortable. Getting a female attention at this age after so many years, she asked me out for coffee. I was reluctant, but she hooked me saying she had heard a lot about me from my soon-to-be ex-wife. I agreed mostly to see what she has to say about Maria. It turned out to be fruitful. She told me about the exact timeline of the affair. Confirmed it was true that Maria despised him initially, and he was harsh on her, gave her tight deadlines, unnecessarily criticized her work, but then she got attracted to his toxicity. She said before Maria got into the affair thing, she would obsess over my foreplay skills and brag to her girls at work. And that intrigued her to approach me. Said, "Now that you both are divorcing, I thought maybe I could also experience your skills." It made me blush. I said I would let her know when I was ready. That weekend, I was feeling lonely. Okay, not very proud. And I texted her. Within an hour, she was at my apartment. We did it passionately. Initially, it felt very weird to be with a different woman after so many years, but then she was very flexible. Before leaving, she asked me if I wanted to keep it a secret or if she can tell this to others. She mainly meant Maria. I said I don't care. She can do whatever she wants. The next I know, I get an angry call from soon-to-be ex-wife screaming at me, "How dare you sleep with my friend?" I laughed and said, "It takes two people to have sex. I don't owe you a reason still. I would like to inform that she was the one who approached me." Apparently, she was intrigued by my foreplay skills. And you know what she said? She had an amazing time. She cut me off saying she didn't want to listen to my disgusting story and demanded I didn't meet her friend again. I told her I was a free man and could do whatever I want. She hung up. The divorce process is on. We are splitting the assets, house, savings, investments. She's fighting to keep the house as a heritage for the kids. Let's see what it leads to. We'll update. Update 3. It's been a year since I caught my ex-wife cheating. Honestly, it feels like a fever dream now. So here's what's been happening. I continued my friends with benefits situation with ex-wife's coworker. Call her S. We kept things casual, no strings attached, just two adults finding comfort. Then a few months later, another coworker, D, texted me asking me out. I replied how she thought I would want to meet her. She said she'd heard from S that we were seeing each other. I'm guessing S didn't hold back the details, and she also wanted to experience my skills. I said, you are 12 years younger to me, and she said she liked older men. Even S is some 8 years younger to me. By the way, both these women are single. S is a single mother while D never married, recently had a breakup with her boyfriend. I told both of them I don't expect loyalty from me. S said her situation doesn't permit her to get into a committed relationship. She has a preteen daughter to deal with, so she was better off this way. D is also an emotional wreck, ending things with her long-term boyfriend. Maybe I'm her rebound of an escape. I don't care. We are all getting what we want at this point in time, and that's all that matters. As expected, word got to my ex-wife and she blew up. Called me again in a full rage mode, yelling, "Stop effing my coworkers." I just laughed and said, "You don't get to control me. You're not my wife anymore." It's fun watching her burn. These women, S and D, made sure ex-wife knew every time they saw me. It wasn't petty on my end, I just didn't stop them. If they wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions, that's their call. Ex-wife hated it. Couldn't stand the idea that her work friends were sleeping with her ex-husband. Once she texted me, "They turned against me for lust. Give me side glances. Whispers that it's my loss. I have no one left to rely on emotionally." I left her on red. I don't know what's going on with women in Maria's circle, but it feels like I got drafted into some revenge fantasy I never signed up for. Recently, one of her close gym friends approached me, asking if I was interested in exploring it with her. I was stunned. Outrightly said, "No." Damn, she was married and recently had a baby. That's a line I'm not crossing. I asked her if her husband knew she was sending me those texts. She laughed it off. "Of course not. I thought maybe we could keep it discreet." I'm yet to decide what to do. I've lived through the betrayal and know how it feels to be kept in the dark. I haven't decided, but a part of me wants to tell her husband. He deserves to know what's going on behind his back. What do you guys suggest? On a personal front, the divorce is sealed. My ex-wife got away with the house. She pushed for it hard. She said she wanted it to remain a heritage for the kids. I let her have it. Didn't want to fight over bricks and walls when the soul of the home had already died. The rest of the split went 65-45 between me and her. She continued her little fairy tale with a fair partner for a bit after our separation. As expected, that fantasy soon wore off when he got hit hard in the divorce. His wife served him badly, took away half his assets in the house in which he screwed his mistresses. She wasn't working, had a toddler, and solid evidence about his cheating. So the court sided with her on everything she demanded. Along with the assets, she got a fat check maintenance. I also heard she demanded his ancestral property as well, blackmailing him to leak about his office affair to HR. It would cost him his job. Karma served piping hot. Recently, ex-wife switched her company. Said she was tired of the stress, whispers, and silent judgment. No friends left in that office. Even a fair partner took a transfer to a different state. Couldn't handle the heat and the gossip. The scandal cooked them both. This summer, my son visited during his break. Said he knew the truth about the divorce. I didn't cover it up, nor poison him. I said people make choices and their life shapes accordingly. He wasn't talking to his mother since. Said it would take time for him to accept her reality. He informed his sister about it, and she called to check on me. She was hurt, but not hateful towards her mother. Said her mom told her that I was hooking up with her work friends, and that's why she had quit her last company. I said everyone has the right to live. She exercised hers, and I'm doing mine. I didn't unload the graphic details. I wanted them to have space to form their own understanding, not force them to pick sides. But they've both shown up for me in quiet ways. Texts, visits, sharing memes, asking me if I'm eating enough. I didn't expect that. It meant the world. My daughter recently got promoted to a full-time role. I'm proud of her drive, even if I don't always understand half the jargon she throws around. Son's into tech and is already talking about internships and side gigs. Makes me smile when he geeks out over some new project. I'm not healed. Not entirely, but I'm not broken either. To anyone who's going through betrayal, just know that the pain dulls. You won't forget, but you'll outgrow the part of yourself that begged for answers you didn't need. And one day, when your phone buzzes and it's someone who wants you without an agenda, without lies, it won't feel like revenge. It'll feel like peace. We'll update if anything else unfolds. To hear her compare you to that boss talking about masculinity and ambition like you weren't enough, man, that's a low blow. It's about her own insecurities and poor choices than anything you lacked. That kind of excuse sounds like someone trying to make themselves feel better by putting you down, which is a twisted kind of betrayal in itself. She was chasing something she felt she couldn't get from you. Respect, excitement, whatever. But she chose the worst way to get it, and she dragged you through the mud in the process. And when it came time to break the news to the kids, she spun her lies like she was the victim or somehow innocent. It's so typical. She wanted to keep her image clean while you had to carry the burden of truth. Good on you for stepping up and telling your parents the real deal. At least you're not letting her rewrite history. What do you make of this? And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next video. See you next time.